so much beautiful about New Brunswick.
Listen, one more thing there. Boy, we're on a roll here. We got to do this. We'll do this again in the fall after Higgs calls an election and wins with a majority, because only 30% of the people.
Well, if he wins, you say that, but I say if he wins the majority, where is he going to pick up the seats that he doesn't have now?
We already had that. Listen, I got to ask you a question.
Yeah.
I talked about the Irvings earlier. You remember we hear about the explosion at the refinery?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think it was Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah.
And it was brought up, it was in the media, Irving media.
Right.
Bang, boom, boom. And then...
How can you avoid it? Yeah.
And then, but...
Yeah.
The next day it happened, the explosion there, those cars there that the longshoremen, what do you call that there in St. John, where they take old cars and scrap them?
Yeah. Well, I know what you mean when they demolish cars.
Yeah, when they
crush them and all that.
Yeah, they crush them, and then as a matter of fact, Gary MacDougall was one of the. Remember him? One of the talk show hosts, CNBC.
Oh yeah, okay.
And he was one of the activists. But then there was an explosion there. But the Irving.
Oh, that one. Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah,
the Irving focused for 4 days on that.
Oh, yeah.
Never mind the refinery.
Oh, no, the newspaper's not fair. I don't subscribe to it myself. I can't read it.
So they came out. The government said they wanted to do an investigation. Said we can't comment because it's in front of the courts.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of people, some people approached me that were in there.
I feel sorry for anybody who calls themselves
traumatized.
Works for the Irving newspapers. Like I played cards with some of them, and they're not journalists; they're reporters.
They made that much money that they could play poker?
Well, when you play for $10 a game, it's not that much, or $20 a game.
Just to pass the time, and we talk more than
it's a fun thing, but like that's not to me. Well, I suppose reporting is journalism, but to me, journalism is like when you're digging and you're trying to find the truth, and it's not about your opinion, it's about where the facts lead you, and you go. Somebody else just sits there and watches something happen, says, well, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. And
so how come...
That's reporting, that's not journalism.
How come the government didn't turn around and really launch an investigation and go in people's home, or even the union people, and say, you won't be blacklisted, we promise you? How are you feeling? Like, these people could be traumatized by this for 10, 20 years, but they don't dare to speak up because they would be blacklisted.
Look, if you make a mistake in New Brunswick, you better move to another province. You're not going to get a job. You're just going to be screwed.
That's why I'm on welfare. I'm on the Irving blacklist. I couldn't get a job nowhere. And then I end up here.
I know the
feeling. You're lucky to meet me. You can thank the Irvings for that one. But what I'm saying is the Irving refinery.
I do know the feeling.
The Irving refinery. There's no launch investigation, the explosion. There's nothing.
No, they just tell you what the absolute minimum, and that's that. Move on. And the accident happened, and bada bing, Bob's your uncle. What more do you need to know? I mean, why wouldn't they? They own all the newspapers. That's why they own the newspapers, so that they not only get to control the agenda, they get to control the message. And and the third arm of that is government, and there's some independence of that, but I've never really seen anybody stand up to them in government on a critical issue. Like, if you want to spray glyphosates all over everybody, go ahead.
Just a fine example.
It's horrible.
Let's talk about Robert Jones. Let's talk about Robert Jones.
People are getting sick.
Let's talk about
dying of cancer.
Let's talk about Robert Jones here for a second. I remember Kevin Vickers. I remember. I can't get that guy out of my head when he tells stories. So anyway, so turn
I'll try and keep them to it. I get criticized like that too. People say your posts are too long.
Anyway, so turn around. What was I saying? Okay, Robert Jones.
Yeah.
And he come out in November with a story. A big story.
Did he?
Yes, a huge story.
What was it?
2000, I'll remind you in a second. Shut up and focus. In 2007.
Oh,
and it said, 2009.
Yeah,
and
back then I believe
it was that the MLAs, these bastards inside, stayed inside during the highlight of the flood.
Yes.
The electricity, you know what I'm going to say.
Oh, yeah.
The electricity went off.
Yes.
People, all the little media were focusing on the river,
on
that
the
was
flood,
that sandbags, and they stayed. Mike Murphy was one of them.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Good old Mike.
Yeah.
Mikey introduced a third final reading with Bev Harrison.
Yeah.
And they voted themselves a $6 million raise in their pension.
I know.
$6 million raise. Robert Jones came out with this in November. I immediately contacted my good friend, David Alward. Remember him?
Mm-hmm.
And he was in the opposition. I said, you must stand up in the House and denounce this. He never did.
No.
But once, Tony Hutchin told me afterward, David Howard told me, you could boot me in the arse if nothing is done, because I was pushing it. And Tony Hutchin told me, I lost a lot of money because of you. And because David Howard pushed it back. But the media, Robert Jones came out with the story, the rest of the media never followed.
No,
and 6 months later, they said, we're not going to look into this. Next thing you know, Brett...
and for Bob Jones, I mean, Bob Jones was good on that.
No, but the rest of the media never followed it. It was forgotten.
You know, yeah.
And I was pushing it. I went after those MLAs.
Yeah.
I went after them for 2 years. But the bottom line is, then next thing you know, a year, when the rest of the media jump on it, then something was done.
Yeah.
But issues like that, they don't push it. No. They forget it. They go on something else.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like the Blaine Higgs when he was doing the news conference. And next thing you know, the language issue came up. That he couldn't speak French. Now, I won't swear. 8-year-old watching this. Why bring the language issue up during the crisis? That the premier didn't answer in French? Did you hear Higgs speak French? Can you speak French?
Un petit peu, but...
Un petit peu.
Un petit peu.
Un petit peu.
Petit. Not good enough to be, but at the same time, I think Higgs is probably studying it, and he's doing his best.
I don't want to hear him never speak French. It's terrible. Where's the David Alward?
David Alward couldn't speak English. My God, I never heard him end a sentence, speak a complete sentence ever.
You gotta love
He
him.
would and on. It's like, what are you talking about? Would you finish a sentence, please?
And
he was a lovely man. But,
and he was always sick.
But I have never understood what he was talking about.
He was always sick. And I told him, this is where I told him, do not shake hands. Stop shaking hands.
Yeah.
He's diabetic, and I never shake hands since then. I always go, because it scared the hell out of me. But he got a good job now.
But he was a good guy. Oh, yeah. I say, everybody gets paid off.
Or Sean Rand,
and if
he's in space with China somewhere.
I mean, that's ridiculous. You get sent over to China to work on their energy. Like, come on. That's just Akon payoff as far as I'm concerned. He has no skill. He was a supply teacher.
I thought he was a bartender.
Well, he was a bartender, but he was a supply teacher. He has an education degree. He had to get out of the country so he could avoid some questions. I mean, so Frank probably set him up, said, here, go over there till this thing blows over. Now you can see him once in a while at the market, and he'll be 55 soon enough, and he'll be able to collect his pension and whatever. But kind of like he had this wonderful job of being the premier, and all he had to do was just do a good job, and he would have got elected.
I shook his hand right across the street the next day.
He wasn't a bad guy, but unfortunately he became Frank's boy. He just did it. And Al Graham double-crossed him too, I think.
He had more charm than our Lord.
Yeah. But anyway, he could have been reelected if he had...
and be power.
I remember going to him and saying, I've been 5 years trying to be a school teacher, and I knew Kelly Lamrock was being...
That's no good.
Okay, well, whatever.
Did you ever understood a joke Kelly Lamrock said?
No.
Me neither. Did you know why? Everybody thinks it's funny. it was all the bureaucrats.
Yeah.
Once you're a minister, everybody laughs.
No, yeah, right.
Once you're no longer a minister,
he's nothing. He can. I never found anything witty about him. Like, you know, wit is when you're not trying and you know how to say it and you say something. But he would sit down and try to put these complex words together. That really, you're just like, oh my gosh.
But Sean Graham...
I never understood him.
No, same here.
I never laughed at his humor, whatever it was.
No, I never did either. I thought it was me that was slow. Then I realized
But I sent my daughter in to run against him, Kathleen. She ran for the Green Party, and he was the Minister of Education, and he was chomping at the bit for that pension. And then he was running against David Kuhn. My God, he had so many votes. And when somebody, if somebody got in my cab and said, "Oh, I'm voting for David Allward or Conservative or whatever," I'd say, "Oh, that's good," and I would leave him alone. If they said, "Oh, I'm voting Liberal," I'd say, "Oh, that's good," whatever, because I knew I couldn't change them. But if they said they were voting for Kelly Lamrock, I would look at them and I would say, "Oh my gosh, everybody in the world is voting against him. He was the worst Minister of Education in the history of education." People go, "You don't say." And they go, "Well, I'm not voting for the Liberals or the Conservatives. I'm fed up." I'd say, "Vote for the Green Party." And they said, "Well, the Green Party's never been elected." I said, "Just do it. Come on, I'll take you to the polls right now." And I would drive them to the advanced poll on my dime. I didn't care. I walked them in if they had to. And there was all sorts of people that would have absolutely never voted. Would have never voted, period.
And then came...
And they'd say, "Well, Jack, you know," and I'd say...
And then came Dominic Carty.
And then came Dominic, and I actually liked Dominic until I read some of the way he put down some of his constituents for disagreeing with him, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
He's a redhead.
Oh, jeez. And now he's over in the Conservatives, and he's the Minister of Education. I don't know what he is.
Isn't it incredible the way that he ended up as minister?
It is. It's a story into a story. I don't understand
He
it.
ran... Roger Duguay was the leader of the NDP. Remember him?
Yeah.
Nice guy, a priest. And then there was a coup d'etat.
Yeah.
And remember, it was a Pierre Cyr, C-R-Y.
Yeah.
And then Dominic didn't want an open convention.
No.
So he did a coup d'etat.
Yeah.
And Pierre Cyr emailed me. He wanted to do an interview like this.
Right.
But then he took a heart attack and died.
Oh.
And God bless his soul. And then we know what happened with the NDP.
Yeah.
And then at the state the province address, I seen Mr. Higgs in the opposition.
No, sometimes
going hand in hand with Dominic Carty. Whoa, what the hell is going on here?
Couldn't understand that one.
I seen Blaine, I said, "What's going on here?" I said, "Do you want to do it the hard way or the easy way?" He looks at, you're going to answer me? And then he was the chief executive
but,
of Blaine, and now he's minister.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, no,
I'm talking too much here.
It's like that girl, what was her name, that used to be the head of the CBDC, and then she ran for the Liberals against David Kuhn, and she lost, but she would have won if she had a run for the Conservatives, but I don't know why she'd run for the Liberals, but anyway.
Who was that?
Oh, gosh, her name, just right on the tip of my tongue.
Not Rick Miles' wife.
No. No, Rick Miles' wife, I actually liked her. I could have voted for her. She was nice. She was my candidate, she was the only one who actually knocked her.
What's her name again? Isn't it awful
Rick
to get
Miles'
old?
wife.
Yeah, isn't it awful to get old? Pamela? Is it Pam?
Might be.
It's
the only time I think I ever saw her. I mean, but she was nice. And do you know, I like politicians who go right into the enemy's den and they think the person is against them. Like Karen Ludwig, I said a couple of negative things about her, not about her personally. Karen Ludwig, when she was running for she was the federal member of parliament in my riding. I live out in Hanwell.
Okay.
And she did a couple of postings, and I chirped her about it on an article, just like whatever. But you know, she sent me a nice Facebook message there, even though I had kind of, and after she lost, and I told her she made the biggest mistake in her life declaring for Vickers. I did a big article on that, and then the next thing she backed off on that.
You did an article on what?
Saying that she should have.
On your Facebook?
Yeah.
You call that an article on your Facebook?
Well, the you know, they usually run 200 or 300 words. What else am I call it? What do I write it? A posting.
I laugh when people say
a posting.
You smoke marijuana, you?
No.
No? It's legal anyway. No big deal. I laugh.
Oh no, I know.
People
I don't
say,
smoke. I don't drink.
I tried all kinds of drugs. Cocaine.
Yeah.
I love cocaine. I tried cocaine once. I love it so much I never touch it again. Now, there's another issue.
Yeah.
I tried cocaine.
Yeah.
I tried acid. I tried magic mushroom. See, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Happened to me. What else is there? Hash browns, liquid hash, the hot knife. I did. You know, that's the way it was.
Right.
Now, I told Dominic Carty this, and I told the government, you could go to the classroom and say, do acid, do cocaine, do whatever you want, but don't do crystal meth. How do you put the message out to the kids? Do not try crystal meth, because it burns, fries the brain cells forever.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful. Well, I first of all, you know, I was like everybody else. I had a great time, and but you know, I became a father, and so I had to lead by example, and I puffed a few marijuana not too long ago. It's no problem, but that for me now has been years and years ago. And I used to have a drink. I don't drink anymore.
Okay, Mr. Perfect. Here.
I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm older, and I'm trying to control my health agenda.
Focus, Jack.
Yeah.
Focus.
Yeah.
Crystal meth.
Well, that's just insanity. In fact, on my Facebook page, I saw a page of a guy who had tattoos all over his face and earrings in his nose and his ears and whatever, and I just wrote meth. Like, that's meth.
Huh?
And Harvey Weinstein, coke. That's coke behavior. Where you think you can do anything you want, you're so powerful, you get pumped up so high, you're into coke. Bill Clinton, he looks like a coke addict.
Okay, focus.
Right?
Focus.
Well,
crystal meth.
Well, that's all I know about meth is you do not. I drove cab, as you know, for 5 years. So I definitely had some meth addicts in my cab. They are explosive if you say anything ever so negative. Like, I remember one time I had a guy in my cab, and he was like 3 times the size of me, and he told me to wait while he went in and did something. Well, I had to charge him a waiting time. Well, look, I had to cancel the fare. I had to say, no, never mind, it's on the house, because I thought he was going to kill me. It wasn't worth $15.
No.
I just took the